Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Have these been the best playoffs ever? Well, the Penguins aren't in them, so I wouldn't think you would think that they are. But what's been your assessment so far of these Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, I think playoff hockey is just a whole different animal. So I think everyone tunes in regular season, when you catch some games when you can, but, playoffs are on you. Plan the nights to watch the games because they are so exciting. The back and forth, the hits, the guys just sacrificing it, laying all on the line is, to me, there's no better playoffs than hockey playoffs. So it's just been great to watch. Some great games last night going into overtime. As you mentioned a little earlier there with Colorado, they kind of been under the radar, surprisingly. So I know they took care of the Jets there a little easier than people thought, but that's the way it goes. Sometimes when you look at the Lightning as well, got obviously outed by the Panthers, but those games were neck and neck, and bounce here or there could have gone maybe the Lightning way as well. So you always tune in for those playoff games, and it'll be exciting to see what happens here down the stretch.
I'll tell you what, whoever came up with that slogan, because it's the cup, deserves a raise. The person's probably not even still around, but because it's the cup, we do some crazy things. You mentioned Florida Lightning lost, got bounced in 5 by the Panthers. I would be very interested because you spent so much time in Tampa with the Lightning. Where are they? Are they plateaued? Are they going down? Are they just retooling and going up? Where are the Lightning, do you think?
I think with their core, it'll be interesting. A little surprise, obviously, Stammer's not, signed up yet. I think he's, for the last decade, been a tremendous leader. You look at what he's done for the team, on the ice and then off the ice, and that leadership, you definitely see come playoff time how that's needed, especially when you bring in the younger pieces, which they have. You look at the Hagel this year and some other pieces. I think they're right there.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
The San Jose Sharks won it. They had the best odds to win it, and they did. Macklin Celebrini is the top prospect.
Well, put it this way. You say he's not Bedard. I'd say he's more well-rounded than Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard's got more pure skill, and, I'd still be picking Bedard, but what Celebrini is able to do, he put up potentially the best freshman season ever seen in college hockey at 17 years old. This guy's the real deal.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. Brand new day. It's a Thursday, I believe. It's Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, but also airing in 31 U.S. states. And on the radio in Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL show, we're going to be talking not expansion per se, coming up real shortly, but relocation in a second. And let's bring the Moose in. As you can see, I'm in the steamy Florida location. He's in the steamy Toronto location. And I don't know, man. I feel like I'd like everybody to entertain me for once. Last night I was entertained by the National Hockey League. There's no doubt about that. But I'm listening to Ryan Malone in the pre-show there, for those that are watching on the streaming. I'm like, God, this is really interesting to listen to. And then, yesterday, Stephen Ellis comparing Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard. I'm like, I could listen to this all. Oh, wait, I'm the one that's supposed to be entertaining today. So here we are. How do you like us so far? Moose, what's up today?
What is up with Stephen Ellis? I love Stephen Ellis, and he's good to our show, and he's actually really great. But he's got something against Connor Bedard because he came on here.
Always has.
Macklin Celebrini is more well-rounded. He came on here a year ago. Matvei Michkov beat him every time head-to-head. I think he's got something out against Connor Bedard. No, I joke. He's got some good takes, but it'll be interesting.
He's the contrarian. He's the contrarian. Absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to not Mickey Mouse around anymore. We got Jason Gregor coming up from Sports 1440 Edmonton and Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet Winnipeg. So Gregor's going to be talking Oilers, Canucks. Reynolds will be doing the postmortem on the Jets. And can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? We do have huge breaking news today. The Toronto Maple Leafs have fired Sheldon Keefe. That's where we're opening. But I just, this is where I tell my best stories right at the outset of the show, which I shouldn't do because people are just turning it on, just finding us, blah, blah, blah. But I think you were blown away a little bit by the Skinny Merlino story. Skinny Merlino. He hosts a podcast.
Yeah.
It's called The Skinny with Joey Merlino. He hosts it at the same podcast studios where we do Cats and Bolts, the show on the Panthers and the Lightning. So the other day when we were doing this week's show on the Florida Panthers, the producer Ben says to me, "Oh, by the way, Skinny Merlino would like to have you on his podcast." And I'm like, when and where? And I asked you to look up Skinny Merlino. I mean, last night I was with Jersey Jim Behringer at the Panthers game, and I said, "Have you heard of Skinny Merlino?" He's like, "Who hasn't?" He's the famed mafia boss from Philadelphia. I'm like, "Yeah, same guy. Wants me on his show." And I looked it up on Wikipedia. Joe Salvatore Skinny Joe Merlino is an American mobster and reputed boss of the Philadelphia crime family. He rose to power and seized control of the organization in the mid-'90s after he fought against the John Stanfa faction of the family. What do we think about that? What do you think about that?
Hot damn.
The son of Salvatore and Rita. I was doing my homework. Just a real mob. You go through the names of the Merlino family, and I mean, this is, and you look at his photo. I mean, this is as right out of The Sopranos as it gets.
He just got out of the clink. He just got out of the Crowbar Hotel not that long ago. I've met him. I was in the same studio as him. Hey?
You do the podcast, but once you're in the family, there's no leaving the family. There's only one way out of the family.
How about
Okay,
I know that.
you just gotta know what you're getting into, and then that's fine.
Listen,
I
I'm
think it'll be
okay
good.
with it.
How about that?
Yeah, Skinny Merlino. Look him up. Theirs is the most watched podcast from our studio. Ours is number 2. Anyways, can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please?
FG.
Yeah, I'm a little rattled because of that, but it's all good, man. It's all good. He wants me on his show. It's not a bad thing. Just a little unnerving. These things are new to me. The Toronto Maple Leafs have fired head coach Sheldon Keefe. The team made the announcement Thursday morning after the original 6 franchise lost to the Boston Bruins in 7 games in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Keefe had a record of 212 wins, 97 losses, and 40 extra time losses over parts of 5 seasons in Toronto, but he was only 16-21 in the playoffs and had a series record of 1-5. Despite finally getting the organization over a painful playoff hump last spring when the Leafs advanced to round 2 for the first time in nearly 2 decades, Keefe was unable to keep that momentum going. Lost his job today. Clark called it the other day when he saw that Shanahan and Brad Treliving were meeting with the media on Friday and no Sheldon Keefe. Clark called this a couple days ago, and to be honest, we should probably have producer Clark sitting right here because I've really been enjoying his takes. He is probably the biggest Leafs fan I know. He stepped over the dead body, the cold body that's not even cold yet. He wants to bring in Joel Quenneville. That's producer Clark. Bye-bye, Sheldon Keefe. We hardly knew ye. Them's the breaks. But for all the people that have been blowing up my phone and saying, "What's wrong with the Leafs? What's wrong with the Leafs?" Which, frankly, not my job to figure that out. I've never spent 2 seconds thinking about it. Clearly, the Leafs think it's Sheldon Keefe. Is that the easy summation of this, or is he just the fall guy?
Well, I think it's a little of column A, a little of column B. I think, you look at what's going to get this group over the hump, and I think they're just looking for somebody to step up and just will this team over. So it starts with leadership. And, you look at leadership in the locker room, and if it's not coming from the coach, where's it coming from? John Tavares has played well in the playoffs and had some big moments, but I just think they need a new voice in that room. Now, say what's wrong with the Leafs, as I'm reading more of the story, the Leafs, it's not all bad. We don't need to blow the whole thing up. There is not a team in the NHL who has made the playoffs right now more times consecutively than Toronto. They're at the top 8 times in 8 years in a row. They've made the playoffs. That's not a small thing to do in a very competitive National Hockey League. But you need to find a way to take 8 trips to the playoffs and, have a run out of those 8. And so who can get them over the hump? The search will begin. And I think part of it is, I heard the Craig Berube stuff. We talked about it. And I think it was Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts said the Leafs might not be like Berube might not be around long enough for the Leafs to get him. So I think they thought we got to act fast, make a move, and then the search begins.
There's a lot of great coaches out there, so I get what you're saying, but I think the writing was on the wall that Keefe's done if they didn't go on a run this year. And to be honest, we all saw the news conference at the end of the season. It looks like he doesn't even want to be there anymore. So this is what we have today. It's funny because the guy wrote in here the other day, viewer from BC, he was like, why all the Leafs talk? And I'm like, I know, right? But you kind of have to. I'm sorry. There's Canada's team. They are. But I will say this. Somebody asked me if the problem might be they don't have enough Western Canadian players. I would go along with that. I've never said that about the Leafs, but I did say that about the Winnipeg Jets a few years ago, you recall. And, it was like a fart in the wind. It was here and it was gone. And nobody really cared. But here's two teams that people are sitting there going, something's missing. Maybe that's it. Has anybody thought of that? The Wendell Clarks. I'm just saying. Okay? Look at Vegas and look at some of these other teams. That's the way we're raised in Western Canada, and if you're not from there, you wouldn't know it. Enough on the Leafs for now. To point two, a thriller in Vancouver. The Canucks scored 3 goals in the third period of a 5-4 win over the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1 of their Stanley Cup second-round series. So, yeah, it's like one sentence is all we need on that. Y'all seen the highlights. I saw the comments from Connor McDavid afterwards, basically saying they're a good team, too. Same thing happened to Dallas, blowing a big lead in Game 1. Same thing happened to the Panthers and Bruins, which we're getting to. Same thing happened to the Panthers, got blown out in Game 1. Here, the Oilers got pantsed. They certainly weren't blown out, but Game 1, people, are you learning as we go? Are you learning? It's kind of a take the temperature game for everybody. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Just one sec. Just a quick moment of silence for your household for the day, because I know it's going to be a tough 48 hours for you. As you say, your fortunes live and die with the result of the Oilers. So we're thinking about you. But no, it was, you got to figure out how the series is going to be played in Game 1 and what everything's going to look like. And then you figure out, okay, this is the way it's going to be played. Yes, big advantage to win Game 1 for sure, but it doesn't dictate the entire series. Look at Winnipeg and Colorado last round. Game 1 didn't go the Avs' way. They figured out how the series was going to be played, adjusted, and Bob's your uncle, right? And see if Edmonton can do the same thing. But Vancouver really figured things out. After a tough first period, they let Edmonton do their thing. They realized, okay, this is the Oilers. Now we're going to play our game. And they held the Oilers 22 minutes or whatever it was without a shot on goal. Only a couple of shots in the third period. They cleaned up a lot of things, scored some key goals, and adjusted really fast. It was impressive.
From the audience, by the way, with regards to Serena's mood being dictated by how the Oilers do, win or lose, I don't really care. I mean, I know how to handle her. I just let her do her thing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let it affect my mood. Donnie writes in and says Sheldon Keefe should have been fired after the Montreal series. And I think we all know exactly what he's talking about. The Game 7 in the bubble series. So he's held on 2 years longer after that. I don't think Sheldon Keefe is leaving with, well, he's probably leaving with regrets, but I think he's probably relieved. That's what I think. Jen at the Four Seasons writes in. She says, good morning, y'all. Sheldon Keefe, gone. Yeah, we talked about it. She says, Stuart Skinner blew it in the third for my oil. Little angry today. Oh, and Janelle in Saskatoon. She writes in, we're very big with the ladies, by the way, just so you know. We have a very high female quotient of viewers and listeners. Janelle says, okay, so I know there was a discussion about what was the best game of the second round. What do we think? The discussion was this. Everybody was saying it was Game 2, Rangers-Hurricanes. And maybe it was. Darren really enjoyed it. But I think, for me, I said the best game of the playoffs was Game 1, Jets-Avs. That was a grease fire. Have you ever tried to put out a grease fire? It's very hard. Things are popping up everywhere, and that's what that game was. I guess it depends on what your definition of a great game was, which, by the way, that's what I'm saying. But, I mean, so let's move on to point 3. Well, it's kind of a morph of 2 and 3. Florida dumped Boston 6-1 in the other game Monday night, so that series is 1-1. Shoot, we could spend 2 hours on that. They routed the Bruins. The Florida Panthers routed the Bruins 6-1 last night. It was a very entertaining night, and what they want us to call it the bank, a Merritt Bank Arena. They're like, see at the bank is the thing here. And so it denigrated once the game was out of reach. The Bruins were starting stuff, and the Panthers were kind of starting stuff. You peasants don't have the opportunity to have NHL Network. Maybe peasants isn't the proper word. You unfortunates, because I really enjoy that network. Well, you got TSN. It's basically the NHL Network, but you don't have Bruce Boudreau on there, I don't think. And, for instance, he said his quote, and I've put it in the Rod Pedersen commentary today. You can read it at rodpedersen.com or listen to it on Sask Radio. Gabby said about Matthew Tkachuk coming out and wailing on David Pastrnak. He said he left the bench. That's not allowed. Although Chucky's never really cared for the rules. Number 2, he hit him when he was down. Then he hit him again. That's Matthew Tkachuk. Again, he goes, he's never really been one for the rules. Well, I never used to be either. And I paid mightily for that, by the way. A pound of flesh. Will Matthew Tkachuk ever? And again, I'm the Panthers, not fan, but I'm certainly the Panthers guy. That's just one incident of a game. Old-time hockey. Everybody's calling it old-time hockey. And I will say that the movie Slapshot really coined a phrase there. And Perry S. Hockey wrote me about what went on here last night in Sunrise. This is what he said. Famed coach and NHL scout. He says, the purists come out in the playoffs. It becomes more about the game and how does my team measure up. You don't have time to recover from holes in your lineup or injuries. Oh, yes, and who has the best goalie or goalies? It's an adrenaline rush. It is for us too, Shocks. We all feel it. It's not just the coaches. But Paul Maurice after the game said, hey, it was awesome. If you're offended by that, I don't care. That was awesome. Jim Montgomery probably doesn't feel the same way. But to be honest, I checked out by the time it was 6-1. The fights were whatever. What are you doing? What's your read on it?
I love Paul Maurice more and more every time I hear him speak. Yeah, he's like, if you paid money and you were in the building tonight, you had fun, you know? And you got a little bit of everything in the hockey game. You got the rough, you got the fights, you got the goals, you know? But I think, you know, looking at the game, I think the way that Florida rebounded after the Game 1 loss to Boston, you chase Jeremy Swayman from the net, which is a feat in and of itself. I think that's a thing. Now you're into the heads of Boston a little bit. Now they're going to maybe go back to Allmark or go with Swayman. Now there's questions in goal. That statement from Florida really flipped this series quickly right on its heels. And I think you accomplished a lot. Forget about the fights at the end. I think you accomplished a lot just how you played offensively.
Very good analysis by you. The fights don't mean anything. They're dumb. I mean, it was fun to watch what was going on. I mean, the game was out of hand, so Marchand's running around sticking people. He is what he is. He's not changing. Chucky's not changing. It's the way that they play, and neither one's apologizing for it. You had Brandon Montour sticking his tongue in the face of Marchand. Like, that was fun stuff. It was all about entertainment. What I say, I was entertained last night by the games. But that doesn't mean anything with regards to what Darren just said. The outcome, 6-1. The Panthers got back to who they are. We got some really fun stuff coming up after the break, or at least I think it is, so hang on. We got Jason Gregor and Sean Reynolds joining us. Gregor from Sports 1440 Edmonton and Reynolds from Sportsnet Winnipeg. On today's program, we'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Okay, we're back on the RP Show. And listen, did you take advantage of Landmark Cinema's movie Twosome Wednesday? Tell me you did. Tell me you did. Or maybe you were watching the Stanley Cup playoffs like me. I don't know. But if you went to the movie, tell me how it was. And if you didn't, who cares? Write in on the Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-3033. What's the last movie you saw? Or on the streaming feed, too. Just a little subtopic there. Let's bring the moose in. But every Wednesday, it's movie twosomes, 2 drinks, 2 admissions, 1 popcorn, 1 candy for 1 low price, all at Landmark Cinemas. Go check them out. My last movie was Godzilla vs. Kong. We discussed that yesterday. What was your last movie, Moose? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, the last movie I went to in theaters. No, what?
Yes.
What was the last movie I saw in the theater? It's been a while since I've been to the movie theater.
Okay, you got to go.
I can't tell you what the last one
Time
was.
to
I got to go.
Yeah, yes. Time that you go, son. By the way, we'll get to tonight's Stanley Cup playoff games. Well, I'll read the Blue Jays thing now. The Toronto Blue Jays have the day off as they prepare for a weekend series against the Minnesota Twins. It's a rematch of last year's wild card series, which the Twins swept. The Jays coming off a 5-3 victory in Philly on Wednesday. They are dead last in the AL East. By the way, just give me a moment. Junior hockey is my thing. It's my first. The NHL is my first love, but my junior hockey is my second love. So the Centennial Cup opens today. Let me just say, I know not everybody cares, but we do. So can I say, they're on the ice right now in Oakville, Ontario. The Winkler Flyers versus the Sioux Lookout Bombers. They're on the ice right now. 4 p.m. Eastern, Calgary Canucks versus the Collingwood Blues. And 7:30 tonight, the Melfort Mustangs against Miramichi. Miramichi from the Maritimes Hockey League. It was 3 years ago now, I believe, Darren, that we were in Estevan for the Centennial Cup with Alan May and Joe Watson, the Philadelphia Flyers, great. And we had the best time. We were in the ring for 9 freaking hours every day, each day. 3 games. We never left. We had such a great time. I wish we could go back, but hey, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be in the cards. Now,
I drank so much wine with Joe Watson at that thing. Those little mini bottles of wine.
There are so many Philly people here in South Florida. And a lot of Flyers fans. So I often bring up, do you guys know a guy by the name of Joe Watson? They're like, yeah, defenseman on the 2 Stanley Cup Flyers winnings team, 73, 74, or whatever the years were, 74, 75. I'm like, I said, I was with him at the Centennial Cup for a week. What a trip. Like, he'd be 81 now. You showed up the next day with him. The next day, his teeth were still stained from the wine you guys were pounding the night before. What the hell did you do to him? Just so you know. Again, story time. I told you it was going to be fun. I haven't even got into the fun stuff yet. But I appreciate the people that say you like the stories. And thank you, Jim Young, Dirty 30, for writing from BC and saying how much you like the show, because I kind of like it too. So I'm with Joe Watson. I had to look him up. I was speaking at the banquet with him and Alan May. I looked him up on HockeyDB, and I said, it says you're from, what the hell's the town that he's from in BC? I said, the only other guy I know from that town is Ron Flockhart. What the hell's the town? I'm spacing on it. Can you guys look it up where Joe Watson? Well, I can do it. I said, the only guy I know from that town in BC is Ron Flockhart. And he goes, Ron Flockhart, it was the ring bearer at my first wedding. I said, is that right? Smithers. I knew it started with an S. Smithers, BC. Said, the only other guy I know from Smithers, BC is Ron Flockhart. And he goes, he was the ring bearer at my wedding. He goes, Bobby Orr was my best man. I said, how'd you get Bobby Orr? He goes, I needed somebody.
How about that?
You were standing right there, right? And and he goes, you live in Boca Raton? I said, yeah, I do. I guess it was 2022. And I do. He goes, well, one of my very best friends lives in Boca Raton. I said, oh, yeah? Who's that? His name's Bernie Perron. And by the way, his number's 561-777. I'm like, off the top of your head? He didn't even have a damn iPhone? You want to talk about old school? It's not Sycamoose, Dale. The rat is texting. Smithers, not Sycamoose. But I get it. We're all getting old. Okay. Apparently, Joe Watson isn't, however. Right, Darren? The guy's 18. He's 18.
I know.
In an 81-year-old's body.
Unbelievable. The way he recalls those in every phone number he just has, because that's how he's got to know. He doesn't scroll through the contacts. Pedersen. You know? No. He's got to know your number.
Bernie Perron, 561, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how the hell this came up. He goes, I saw Elvis Presley perform 3 times live. When he died, I cried for days. Remember? We're just like, entertain us, Joe. Tell us stories.
I know.
And he did. For days. Okay. The owners of Utah's NHL team have given fans 20 choices to vote on for the franchise's new name. Name options for the former Arizona Coyotes include the Frost, Ice, Outlaws, and HC, which stands for Hockey Club. The team will start play next season in Salt Lake City's Delta Center. So that's the poll that we put up. Which team name do you like the most? These are the 4 they gave of the 20. Frost, Ice, Outlaws, and HC. That's on Twitter. Clark tweaked it a bit. The YouTube vote is Frost, Ice, Outlaws, or Other. And to be frank, if I can be frank, you can be whoever you want to be.
Bob's your uncle.
Leslie Nielsen. Outlaws is leading on Twitter. Outlaws is leading. 59%. 15% HC, 15% Ice, 11% Frost. Clark, what I saw on YouTube was that Others leading by a runaway. Is that still a thing there on YouTube? Yeah. Others leading on YouTube. Here's the thing, man. I don't understand why our audience loves these types of topics, expansion, team names. But you know what? So do I. So it's a perfect fit. And my vote would be Grizzlies. I love tradition. I also understand not everybody does. So I'm not a hill that I'm willing to die on. So my vote would be Other, but it would be Grizzlies. And your logo's already made. You have a history in the town. You know what I mean? Clark, by the way, said Outlaws. He said hockey is deficient of cowboy-type names. So Outlaws is Clark's vote. And that, it's leading on Twitter. What did you say you would vote?
Ice. Yeah, Ice is my vote from the poll. But I pulled up the 20 names. And there's 5 that I like of the 20 names. Now, I expected Other to win the poll because naturally we just hate all these new names. We hate them all. We didn't like Kraken. We didn't like Red Blacks. We don't like new names. And then after a couple of years, it grows on you and you're fine. So the ones I liked Ice, Glaciers, Yeti, Mammoth, or Freeze. Those were the 5 that I liked. Blast, Squall, Hive. I didn't like those, But Ice is what I vote for in the poll. The Utah Ice.
Well, we didn't even know what Kraken was going to be. That was surprised us all. We like having this conversation in Atlanta, where we're on the air in Atlanta about what the team name will be. We ran that little contest. Remember that, Ryan, on radio a few weeks ago? But at least in Utah, we now know they're going to have a team. And the jersey's going to say Utah. We saw that news yesterday, right? They're not even going to have the name on, just Utah, which is fine. I'm a pragmatic thinker and always have been. So the thing with the Atlanta thing was, let's just get a team first, then we'll worry about the name. But most people don't think that way. Everybody puts the cart ahead of the horse, right? But again, it's Grizzlies for me, but that's, they talked about changing the name of the NHL trophies a few years ago, right? It's time to update them. Nobody knows who Lester B. Pearson is. Maybe that's the problem. And if you change it, nobody's going to know. So again, that's just me, and that's not me being old. That's at the age of 9, I would have felt the same way. I just like Grizzlies. Are you the kind of guy that doesn't like a team name with an S on the end of it? That's why you're going with Ice? You like the Miami Heat, the Utah Jazz?
I like Glaciers. I like, Mammoth isn't an S, but there's a couple other ones with S on it. I don't really care. That doesn't mean anything to me if it has an S or doesn't have an S. I'm not a guy who's just going to, let's pick a name so we can be the most different. That's not really my style. Let's just pick the name that fits the best and sounds the best and gives us the best opportunity to have fun mascots and jerseys and all the rest.
I think Yeti's cool. I don't really know what a Yeti, I don't really know what it is other than like a thermos. It's really all that I know, but I think we could have fun with it. The Utah Yeti, I could get down with that. The mascot could be fun. The kids need a cartoon to identify with. You know what I mean? So if it had to be one of those, I would say it would be Yeti. I'm a big logo guy, mascot guy. I think the Saskatchewan Rattlers have one of the best logos in sport from the day they announced it. That cartoon snake with a forest green and beige. Wonderful combos, which probably what the Utah colors will be too. The only CFL note I have is this. Did Milt Stiegel survive day 1 of Bomber training camp? I've seen zero coverage out of Winnipeg at all. That's why media coverage is important. It's not really on my radar. I haven't seen anything about Milt Stegall and how he did. Did he survive? Did he show up? From the audience, 902-518-3033 text line. Chad in Lethbridge writes in. He says, Marchand or Chucky, which pest are you taking, gents? My money's on Chucky. Another great week of shows, fellas. Thank you, Chad. I'll take Kachuk because he plays for the local team. Rob in the Queen City says, no tears for Sheldon Keefe. He'll be paid by the Leafs until 25-26. Bruins, Panthers, two teams who don't like each other and won't back down from each other. A playoff dream. Expect closer games in Boston this weekend. And from Troy Douglas, he's watching in Swift Current. He says, love the fact the Warriors in Portland are flying back and forth from Moose Jaw in the same plane. Portland to Moose Jaw. Be more contact in the aisles than on the ice. They've been doing that for years. You've been on that plane, haven't you, Darren, when you were doing WHL on
I
Were you on one of
actually
those
haven't
charters?
been on that plane. No, I actually missed out on the charter in that Regina-Seattle series. There was other circumstances, but yeah, that's one that I'm sad that I missed out on.
It's been going on since the 60s. The Regina Pats played the Montreal Junior Canadiens in the 60s. I want to say 1967, if I have it right. And they were fighting on the plane. Ask Mal Isaac. He was there. He was calling the games. This ain't new. They they put the media in between. Junior Canadians in the back, Pats in the front, media in the middle. Didn't matter. They pushed the media out of the way and brawled on the plane. That happened. Look it up. And from Corey in Tallahassee, Florida, he says, I don't agree with the Keefe firing. I also don't agree. I don't agree with Keefe firing. I also don't agree with it. The Leafs were a different playoff team this year. They had it figured out. 2 terrible periods out of 21. Leaf fan from Tallahassee, Corey Pedersen, a former Pat. Moose, I'll see you in hour 2.
Okay, see you then.
Gregor's up next. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The race for the Cantera Seeds Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG. Always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
As always, doing our best to cover it all. Just ahead of Gregor from Edmonton. John in Edmonton says TSN hasn't said nothing about opening day of CFL training camp. I asked about Milt Stegall. Patrolman Pete from Winnipeg says lots of Stegall coverage on TV, radio, newspapers here. It was cool to see him back at camp. And Randy from Winnipeg says Milt said he has a big ego, but not big enough to play again. So there you go. There's your CFL coverage for the day, because we're bringing in Jason Gregor now. Jason, thanks for waiting from Sports 1440 Edmonton. Oilers blow one. I said game one's turned to be a check the temperature of these Stanley Cup playoffs for most series. Is that what last night was for the Oilers, or what did you see?
Well, they were leading 4-1 and really didn't deserve to be leading, right? Sheloff had given them 2 goals, the Ekholm goal and the Hyman second goal normally don't go in. And then Cece's goal, one of those lucky ones went in off of Cole. But you know what? You're up 4-1 and you haven't played well. Like, we've heard this saying, man, they wasted a good effort. I would argue they wasted a bad effort last night, because they were leading 4-1. And then after the Hyman goal, they went 22 minutes and 43 seconds without a shot on goal. Now, Nugent Hopkins hit the goalpost, which probably would have won them the game, but that was a really only good chance. Meanwhile, the Canucks scored 4 goals in those 22 minutes and came back to win the game. And Edmonton, you know what? They lost coverage. They couldn't get pucks out. And, then they didn't get a save. Stuart Skinner, I thought, was the only reason the game was 4-1 early. It stopped Garland on a breakaway. It stopped multiple point-blank shots. But the game-winning goal, that can't go in. That's a save you want your goalie to make. So, you know what? I guess it depends how you look at it. I think most people look at the Oilers as a good team, but they didn't play very well in game one. And, we'll see if they wake up like Florida did in game 2.
Right. Oh, I'm going to get to the mental side of it in a second. That's a great point by you. But I think we all see Edmonton as a vastly better team than Vancouver, standings aside. Is that wrong? Or do you agree? Or are they like real even?
Well, if you look at since Knobloch's come in, Edmonton was the best team in the NHL, and they were top 5 in goals for. They're top 5 in goals against. Their power play's top 5. Their penalty kills top 5. Like, yeah, they've been a better team. Like Vancouver, early on in the season, they scored a lot, but in the second half of the year, if you follow them, they became more of a team that wanted to be good defensively. Now, if Demko is in the series, Rod, then I give him a chance. But I'm sorry, Shelovs is not. He's a 906 AHL goalie. He, you know what? Yeah, they beat Nashville, who had a pop gun offense. Like the Edmonton last night, he showed, you know what? And I think Rick Tocchet might have a tough decision here. He didn't pull him, so I'm guessing he's going to stick with him. But I don't think it's a long leash. I think there's a scouting report on Shelovs. He doesn't do traffic very well. The Ekholm goal proved that. Edmonton should be able to win simply because they don't have as good of a goaltender in Vancouver, but they got to play better. Vancouver works hard. Rick Tocchet gets his team to show up, and they don't quit. They got a lot of belief in them. And you know what? This should be a big wake-up call for Edmonton. We'll see how they do. That was one of the quietest nights I've seen from McDavid in the playoffs. The forwards outside of Hyman had 4 shots on goal, 5-on-5 in 48 minutes. Nurse and Cece got to play better. Like you go find me the player you would say, wow, I thought they played really well for Edmonton, and it would be a really short list.
First game all year, if I have this right, McDavid didn't have a shot on goal. I was driving back from the game here. I didn't see it. So what did the Canucks do to shut him down?
Well, Edmonton didn't have a lot of offensive zone time. Number one, I think that was a big thing. They just, they didn't get into a lot of rhythm really for the Oilers. Like, Edmonton, I felt they were physical at times on Hughes, but I don't think Edmonton. They're a puck possession team. I don't think they worked hard enough in winning some battles to maintain possession. They looked rusty at times, Rod. They're passing early in that game. Like they would have guys up ice and they're missing stretch passes. And now it's an icing play. And they just never really got into a flow. Like they scored that first power play goal. And like I said, they were up 4-1. Like, I'm sorry, even though you're not playing well, there should have been so much excitement on the bench when Hyman scores. Said, guys, we're up 4-1 here. We haven't really played very well. Let's just finish this. We only got 26 minutes to go. And it didn't happen. They sat back. They didn't attack. McDavid mishandled the puck a lot last night, which is like, I know he's fighting something. I don't know what it is, but it's clear at times, like hey, he's still a great player, but last night he wasn't bad, but he never really put Vancouver on their heels, which normally he'll do 2 or 3 times a period to opposing teams.
I have other questions that I'm dying to get to with you, and time's limited, so your take on Sheldon Keefe being fired. There is a notion they need more Western Canadian boys. Your nephew is one that they have, and Morgan Riley's another. So what do you think about this move by the Leafs today?
Well, you know what? I think Toronto's biggest problem is, Rod, that they worry too much about white noise as an organization. And I think Keefe at times kind of fell into that, because if you look at his regular season record, it's unreal. I think he's like 210 wins and 80-some losses. Like, it's really good. But Toronto, they're all, well, how is this going to look? How is this going to look? Like, why did they sign him to an extension last summer? The GM came in. Why'd you do it? Well, because, geez, how are we going to look if we don't sign a guy to an extension? Like, who cares how you look, right? Like, have the confidence and stop worrying about the white noise. Like, I don't get it. You can look at it 2 ways. We have a massive fan base, and that's a really good, powerful tool, or it's a detriment. You choose how you want to look at it, and they seem to look at it as more of a detriment, which makes no sense to me. You got the largest fan base in the league. They're massively passionate. They die for a win. God, like, hell, they would die for 2 playoff wins right now. So I'm not surprised by it. I thought they had to make a change, and they're going to have to make more change. You can't just blame the coach. He doesn't play the games.
Wonderful answer. And that's the thing I admire about Ken Holland and Edmonton. All these hot point issues that he's brought in Andrew Vanderkame, brought in Corey Perry, fired Woodcroft, demoted Jack Campbell. They've all turned out. He didn't care what anybody says, right? He's doing his thing. So far, so good. And I got to ask you about Sports 1440. I feel connected to you because Kevin Karius is like family to me. Looks like it's going really, really well. Tell me about it if you don't mind.
Yeah, you know what? It's growing. It's a process, as you would know, Rod. It's kind of baby steps early on, but I think it's been well received, and we keep growing. We're 24/7 sports now, all the time, so that's a big thing. You can't be a sports station if you're not 24/7 sports. You couldn't do it overnight, but we started in September, and now here we are, May 1st. We went 24/7. We were down to I think only 3 hours left, so we added in Turn Sports from 6 to 9 weekdays. So you know what? It's good. It's a good time. Edmonton's it's a super sports mad market. They love all their sports, which is great. And so it helps when the team's good. And when the team has a game like last night, trust me, the text line and the phone lines will be hopping today because people will be pissed and they'll have a right to be. But it's one game. You don't lose a series in one game. The Oilers, I felt, just blew a chance when they weren't playing well to win a game, and that doesn't happen very often.
No, yeah. Well, you got to get over it. And by the way, you and I both love the CFL, so give me a quick hot take on the Elks, please. And Chris Jones.
Well, you know what? And I like Trey Ford, but I think having an experienced veteran quarterback can help them. I do like their offensive coordinator much better starting this season. I think they'll be way more aggressive. Chris Jones, I'm still leery of how many hats he wears. I think history has shown that too many hats doesn't lead to success for him. Now, Calgary, Saskatchewan, Edmonton, they're probably going to battle for third place in the West. That's what I'm guessing. I think Winnipeg and BC are, the 2 best teams in the West, and it's probably not close. So, you know what? Edmonton's just got to hope that they can get in. The real question in Edmonton is going to be, the sale and who's stepping up here. I hear a lot of rumors about 20 groups. I don't buy that for a second, Rod. I think there might be 2 or 3 serious ones, and we'll get to that. But I still think it's an organization that can work and be very successful. Saskatchewan was at the bottom for a while. They had their, everybody remembers the rallies they had, and they became a dominant franchise again. And so Edmonton could do it. I think the problem started when they let the board into the facility, and it's kind of been downhill. It's too many cooks in the kitchen, people without football acumen try to make football decisions, and it hasn't helped their organization. I think if you get an individual owner, that'll come back, and I think that will help kind of rectify some things. You think about it, Rod, they basically have had 4 good years since 2007. That was when they had Ed Hervey as their GM. And before that, with Machoch and Tillman was a gong show, and afterwards, it hasn't been successful. So you need good leadership. And guess what? Ed doesn't say all the right things. Ed can be prickly at times, but the organization was running in a good stand. Players wanted to be here, and the team won games. So who cares if not everything he says is picture perfect, right? I don't care about that stuff. You want organizations that win, and that's what the Elks need to do. I think they'll be better. I think they'll compete probably for third, but it's no guarantee. Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Calgary, they're probably third place with really no chance to beat Winnipeg or BC.
Awesome chat as always. Thanks, Gregor. Have a great show today.
RP, have a good one.
Jason Gregor, Sports 1440 Edmonton. We'll be right back with a sports update and a audience takeover segment after this, live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, everybody. I promised a sports update and viewer takeover. Try and sneak them both in here. Quick viewer comments from the text line, 902-518-3033. Brought to you by Sober Carpenter. That's what I was looking for. Non-alcoholic craft beers. Regarding what's the best Utah team name for the NHL team, Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in and he says, I still like the Mountaineers. Yeti's growing on me. But failing that, for me, Grizzlies. Kelly in the Queen City writes in and he says, Oilers don't play well 5-on-5. They need power plays, but only got one last night. Oh, well. Blowing a 4-1 lead, it's entirely on them, period. End of story. Agree or disagree? Here's what's making news. The Toronto Maple Leafs have fired coach Sheldon Keefe after another early playoff exit. General manager Brad Treliving announced the decision today. The Maple Leafs losing to rival Boston made it 4 times in 5 years under Keefe. They were eliminated in the first round. Caitlin Clark spent Wednesday morning working out with her Indiana favorite teammates inside an empty Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. By tonight, a nearly full house of up to 17,000 will be rocking and rolling as the WNBA's #1 overall draft pick makes her home debut against Atlanta. Hear that, Ryan on radio? It's a moment Fever fans have been dreaming about since they won the lottery in December, and that only became a reality in mid-April. WNBA, here we are. Sports update brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. And for Landmark Cinemas, coming to Landmark Cinemas Friday, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Director Wes Ball breathes new life into the global epic franchise set several generations in the future following Caesar's reign, in which apes are the dominant species living harmoniously and humans have been reduced to living in the shadows. Is that what it's about? I had no idea. That's why we read these previews here for Landmark Cinemas. Check it out, and while you're there, sign up for Landmark Extras like we have it. It's so much fun. Allie in Texarkana says, I love Yetis. The merchandise would be awesome, for sure. By the way, we're working our way towards tonight's games in the National Hockey League, and we'll get to that in hour 2. That's what we do here. We talk about last night's games in hour 1. Hour 2, we talk about tonight's games. So Dallas, it's coming, Allie. Here's my thought on the CFL, and I appreciate everybody writing in on the Milt Stegall stuff. Thank you for saying there's coverage locally on Milt's one-day tryout with the Bombers. There was nothing on the Canadian press. I don't have enough time in a minute to explain this, but what I've learned is this. The people in the media now covering the sports are young, especially the national media. And the CFL missed the young generation. That's what I think. And they're not, it's the WNBA now. Or as the marketing guy for the Atlantic Schooners I saw stood beside him, he said, it's all Facebook nowadays. Yeah, whatever it is, I don't know, but you missed the boat, man. So we're going to talk CFL, still in training camp, right? So we'll talk about it as much as we can, but they're just not getting the national coverage. I was really thinking about why, and that's what I think that it is. The kids that are now running these departments, writing these stories, they're not as into it as we were. Deal or no deal. NHL talk, more of it coming up in hour 2 right after this brief pause.
capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The San Jose Sharks won it. They had the best odds to win it, and they did. Macklin Celebrini's the top prospects.
Well, put it this way. You say he's not Bedard? I'd say he's more well-rounded than Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard's got more pure skill, and, I'd still be picking Bedard, but what Celebrini's able to do, he put up potentially the best freshman season ever seen in college hockey at 17 years old. This guy's the real deal.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Stephen Ellis is a hater. He's a hater. Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff. Those were his comments yesterday, clearly not mine, on Macklin Celebrini versus Connor Bedard. Welcome on in, everybody, to Hour 2 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, which airs on the Game Plus television network, which also booms into 31 U.S. states. And we're on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, your southern home of sports and talk. Right, Rhino Radio? Let's bring in the Moose. He's in Toronto. It's all about the hype. It's all about the sizzle. Darren, I always say Hour 2 is the most fun. We got through the topics, and let me just refresh for the new viewers here in Hour 2. Sheldon Keefe fired as head coach of the Leafs today. Nobody seems to be arguing that, other than Corey in Tallahassee. Big Leaf fan. NHL leftovers from last night. The Oilers blew one against Vancouver in Game 1 and lost by 4. And the Florida Panthers got back to being themselves, and they routed Boston 6-1 in a fight-filled game in the bank. Jersey Jim and I took it in and had a great time. Tonight in the NHL, it's the Rangers at Carolina. New York up 2-0. Jersey Jim's going to be at that game, did I tell you? In Raleigh tonight.
Yeah.
And Colorado at Dallas, the Avs up 1-0. Colorado at Dallas, Avs up 1-0. The Blue Jays are off. And so just bringing it in, Centennial Cup opens today. We rattled off the games earlier. One of the greatest weeks of my life, I shouldn't speak for Darren, but was in Estevan, Saskatchewan at the Centennial Cup with Darren. My brother came and stayed with me at Jeff's Hotel. Joe Watson was there, the Flyers great. Alan May, Mike Lee. My God! Can we do it again? Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, Rod. Okay. Regarding our poll question is this. What do you like best for the Utah NHL name? Because the team said they have a list of 20 names. We whittled it down to 4. The Ice, help me out. The Freeze, the Outlaws, and the YouTube. Yeah. On YouTube, we got other. Jared Dunbar writes in. He says he likes the Freeze. Utah Darren writes in. By the way, we have a wonderful cross-section of audience here. Old, young, male, female, in between, Canada, U.S. Just what I want. Utah Darren writes in and he says, Yeti seems to be the front runner here. The Yeti. Could we compromise and go with Yeti? How do you feel about it? Because I said Grizzlies, you said Ice. Can we take Yeti and we'd be good?
I'm good with Yeti. Yeti works for me. When you say freeze, all I think about is George Clooney and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Batman movie where he's Mr. Freeze. Schwarzenegger freezes everybody with his big gun, right?
I think Hugh
think
Freeze,
of what?
the former head coach of the Liberty, Hugh Freeze, the head coach of the Liberty Flames. I don't know where the hell he is now. So I looked up Yeti. I Googled Yeti. And what do you think came up? A thermos.
I mean, it's easy to figure out where your merch supplier is going to come from.
Right? So then I amended my search and wrote, what is a Yeti? The Yeti is an ape-like creature purported to inhabit the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. In Western popular culture, the creature is commonly referred to as the abominable snowman. Many dubious articles have been offered in an attempt to prove the existence of the Yeti, including anecdotal visual sightings, disputed video recordings, photographs, and plaster casts of large footprints. You know the one photo of the Sasquatch we've all seen, like ever since we were even little kids, of the guy like walking in the forest and he kind of is looking over his shoulder? That kind of looks like me getting out of the shower, by the way. I don't think that's a Sasquatch. You know, just because he's hairy doesn't mean that he's an ape. Just want to put that out there. I think everybody was fooled. But no, I'm not joking. I have a thought before we get to tonight's NHL games. Okay, just emptying out the text line. Ron Thompson from Calgary writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-3033. And he says, I may be wrong, but are the Oilers overrated? You're a Flames fan. Pipe down. I know what you're trying to do. Dave in Niagara Falls writes in, and he says, odd, no mention Chad Kelly at practice this morning? Again, what are you trying to troll here, Dave? And are you saying that, why are we not mentioning it? He's suspended, bro. And that leads into my point that I just dropped near the end of hour one. And we're not the marketing or PR arm of the Canadian Football League, believe me. And they're in rookie camp. Nobody really cares, aside from the teams and the real diehard fans. The Stanley Cup playoffs are what's hot right now. We did spend all of hour one on that, and we're going to get to it here right away. But my theory, because I was wondering, I told you I was offended. The CFL draft was last week, and the National Newswire, there was nothing. Nothing. Not in the sports breaks, sports briefs, nowhere. That used to be a big deal, and it's not anymore. Why isn't it anymore? I'm sitting there thinking, I know why it is. It's all these kids that work there. I'm sorry for saying they're not into the CFL. The CFL, it's not the fault of the current guys in the CFL office in my mind, and gals. They missed a generation of young people, and now they don't care. How do you get them back? That's what I think. And Janelle in Saskatoon writes in, and she says the Canadian press was too preoccupied with the Golden Boy and his suspension, referring to Chad Kelly. She goes on to say the top two stories on 3downnation.com was the suspension and Nathan Rourke getting picked up by the Giants. So what does that tell you? Janelle says the eyes are on the drama and not promoting rookie camps. And I said, now the WNBA has the hype. Hype sells. Indiana Fever tonight against the Atlanta Dream. I know the Atlanta Dream, and I shouldn't. But I know it because of media coverage. You know what I mean? So this guy writes, and Ken F. goes PWHL too. I noticed You were at a playoff game last night for the Professional Women's Hockey League, and you're not at Argo's rookie camp today. And by the way, you do you. I'm not even judging you for it. But what made you make that decision?
Been wanting to go all year. Tickets are really hard to get, man. Tickets are really hard to get. So when you have an opportunity to get tickets, it kind of feels like I got to go. And it was the first playoff game. And let me tell you something. It was one of the great hockey atmospheres I've ever been at. Like, regardless of gender or league or whatever, it was humming. And the crowd was into it. It was as good, I mean, as NHL games I've been to in terms of, atmosphere in the building. And it was a good game. The home team won. It was all great. But you're right. It's hype. And what's the hot ticket?
Okay, so again, I love the audience participation here. Utah Darren, regarding the name of the NHL team there, Utah Darren writes in and he says, naming the team after a mythical, hard-to-prove animal seems fitting. Many are still questioning the existence of the NHL in Utah. LOL. So, yeah, the Kraken fits. That's mythical. And what really is a Golden Knight? I don't want to offend anybody, but really, what is it? And Patrolman Pete, by the way, says, to be fair, Milt Stiegel at rookie camp is mainly a local story anyway. Potato perspective. It just shouldn't be. Like, here he is, Canada's Michael Irvin. Fair? If I may, a television analyst, Hall of Famer. If Michael Irvin had a tryout for one day with the Cowboys rookies, I think all of America would be. Milt's on television now and has been since 2009. He's a big Canadian television star from Atlanta, or at least he lives in Atlanta now. It's not just a local story in my mind, but again, I'm just putting it out there. The coverage isn't what it was. End of story. And for whatever, it's shifted to female sports, which is fine. I'm following CFL too. I'm following it all, and I love it. And that includes the Stanley Cup. So we're moving on to that. But Gregor had a really good note. And hi to Edmonton, by the way. I've been told the the Oilers are watching. I got that note from the players. Probably not today. Well, we are on Channel 924 in Vancouver as well, across BC. And Rogers, Shaw, Channel 230. It doesn't get me all hot and lather that the Oilers are watching. I don't care. I know that Matthew Tkachuk's watching our show here. That's what I've been told. Again, I don't care. That actually gives me more confidence. It doesn't worry me. It tells me we're doing something right. So, Oilers, can you cover your ears for a second? Gregor said last hour that they blew one. He made a really good point. I've broadcast and covered a lot of series. And I remember one coach saying, when you blow a game, it takes two to get it back. And the Oilers blew one. Are they that much better than Vancouver that winning those two games to make up for last night's blowing one is possible? Like, how big of a salvo was that to themselves last night, do you think?
Good question. It was a tough one because when you're up like that, you need to find a way to put teams away in the playoffs. Dallas is in the same situation against Colorado. You get up by 3 and you need to put those games away in the playoffs. That can flip a series. Now, this Oiler team is far too good, too talented to let one game ruin a whole series. Stuart Skinner's too good to let one game ruin the whole series. But the Canucks have confidence now, and they know they can play with Edmonton at a high level. They know they can skate with them. They know they can play with them, and they'll get their goaltending too. It wasn't great last night, their goaltending either. Let in some tough ones at key moments. But the Oilers always have this ability to score in bunches. Even when they're getting outplayed for a majority of the game, they can come back and go bing, bing, put 2 goals past you before you blink once, and all of a sudden they're right out of the mess. So I don't think this is a big setback for the Edmonton Oilers. I really don't.
I don't either. It's very similar to what happened here in Game 1. Bruins come in and embarrass the Panthers 5-1 in Game 1. What did we see last night? The Panthers came out and got up 6-1, and then it was fight night, and it was brawl night. And before we do move on to the Stars-Avs game, because I just visioned Allie's face here saying, get to the game. No. I'll quote, I don't know anymore. I've said it a million times. Matthew Tkachuk, they showed the video of how that whole thing started with Pasternak. He came right off the bench, skated right at Pasternak, took his gloves off, and they started fighting. And Boudreau's like, you can't do that. And he goes, and Tkachuk's never been big for the rules. And then he beat the hell out of him and then got him down and hit him twice more. Very cheap and dirty. And I've been around Tkachuk enough now. I don't know him, but the people that do, like the Calgary people, they love him. They say he's a really good guy. He's got a great heart. But I think when he gets on the ice, he goes a little kooky. He wouldn't be the first. Should he be disciplined for coming off the bench to engage in a fight with David Pasternak? Boudreau doesn't. By the way, Gabby brought this up on NHL Network last night, and he goes, I don't think anything's going to happen to him. He's like, I'm just pointing it out, but I don't think anything of. Well, Bettman said at the outset of the playoffs, call everything. The rules are the rules. So are we saying midway through round 2, that's off the table? Now it's reputation, it's flow of the game. It's changed.
It has. It's changed big time. I probably should be some discipline coming off the bench. That's an automatic, but to be, a third man in or another man in off the bench in those situations. But do I think anything's going to happen? I haven't seen a lot of smoke to this. So I would, probably suggest nothing's going to happen. But at the very least, should be a fine, I would think.
Well, if I'm the Bruins, Montgomery, or the general manager, Don Sweeney, I'm on the phone today to the NHL office because you would be doing your team a disservice by at least not trying to get Tkachuk suspended or disciplined in some way. It's all gamesmanship. That's the part that I don't get. Regarding the team names, Trevor in Red Deer writes in, he says, the Utah Outlaws. Sounds like a great name to me, but has there been an outlaw associated with Utah? Has there been an outlaw associated with Utah? I don't know. Look it up. Google it. I don't know. I'm not even voting for that, so I'm not spending my time. Dion in Regina writes in, and he says, I like the Utah Blizzard. Main sponsor could be Dairy Queen. Serena is a fitness and nutrition coach. From time to time, she gets a hankering for bad things. So we went for a Blizzard the other day because we saw the animal cookie. Frosted animal cookie Blizzard. Ooh. She's not giving it a thumb up, just so you know. She had that, and I had some sort of peanut butter chocolate cookie dough thing, and it was. We were going to switch halfway through. And we got halfway through, and I'm like, I'm not switching. And she didn't really care for the animal cookie. She's not a fan. And they didn't really put enough stuff in. Yeah, so she had to go back up. She said, can you put more in? I'll pay for it. And, of course, they dump half the box in, so it became more cookie than ice cream. They totally screwed it up. The frosted animal cookie thing, I got to, I think, try it for myself, is the moral of the story. We will come back and do an actual dive right out of the break of tonight's NHL games. We'll be right back. And on the way this hour, Sean Reynolds on a Jets postmortem from Sportsnet Winnipeg. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hour 2, Segment 2 of the RP Show, Canada's daytime sports talk show, coming to you live from South Florida and Toronto. Let's bring in the Moose. Brian Rempel writes in. He is watching right now. He's from Winnipeg. Brian writes into the Sober Carpenter text line, and he says, big fan in Fort Lauderdale now. Are there any public shows planned? No. But now you say that now I'm starting to think we should. But it's a little late. It reminds me of when I owned the pizza restaurant, that beautiful restaurant in downtown Regina. Remember that, Moose? People would write me and go, I'm at your restaurant. Where are you? If I'd known you were coming, I'd have made sure that I was there. You know? And I was with Thad for the Beach House last night, and the topic of a live show didn't come up. Former Pat by the name of Jared Jago's in town. His kid's playing in a minor hockey tournament. That's what we call it in Canada, minor hockey. In America, they call it youth hockey. He's like, can you come to some games? I was at the game last night in my inbox. He goes, Roddy, just landed in Fort Lauderdale. Can you come to our team's games? And they're in various rinks around. I don't know. But there are no public shows planned while you're here, Brian. I didn't know you were coming. If I'd known. James in Calgary writes in. He says, RP, is it possible that just maybe we're not giving the Canucks heart and coaching enough credit? Also, how about Garland doing his best 94 Russ Courtnall impression? Dude, just enjoy the fact that you're not getting any credit. That's what you've been riding all year. Do you know what I mean? Don't pull a Winnipeg. And the Jets didn't do that. But it's like, they called us frauds. We're not getting respect. We're not getting credit. Playoff start. Maybe don't worry about it. What do you think?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Whatever role that the media puts you in, whatever, narrative it is, just accept it and write your own on the ice. And I'll go back to when we went, when was it? What year was it now? We went to the Edmonton Oilers home opener with this show. And we were in the West Edmonton Mall.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we were sitting there and I said, man, that kid, I love that kid. It was Connor Garland. I'm like, I love that kid.
Yeah.
He's great. And then fast forward, they wanted to run him out of town. They thought his contract was up. He didn't like the owners or the coach. There was whatever. They stuck with him. The kid is good. He's got energy. He's got a little bit of that, glue in the locker room, and comes up with a huge goal in the playoff game against Edmonton. Sometimes you need patience with some of your players. You can't just run them out of town at the first sign of something going the wrong way.
I told a great story last hour about Joe Watson. I got another one right now. My brother played bantam hockey at Notre Dame College with Russ Courtnall. You think Russ was small in the NHL? You should have seen him at 13. And my mom will never forget. She told this story for years. Our farmhouse, you've seen it. It's a large, stately, it looks like an American plantation house, right? In Alabama or Mississippi or some massive farmhouse. And my mom, it was the start of the year, and they were having a sleepover. It was the bantam hockey team. And my dad brought the guy. Was like a few guys. Russ Courtnall. I think Gary Lehman was on that team. He played with Wendell Clark the next year. But anyways, Mom said she got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and Russ Courtnall met her in the hallway. He was 13. He was only in his underwear. And he goes, I'm Russell Courtnall, and I'm going to play in the NHL. And Mom was like, I couldn't keep a straight face because he was so small. Look what happened. He made the NHL. He manifested it. And it's interesting, too, when they say now, I hear it a lot from the scouts in the press box here in Sunrise, that size doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter how big you are. Connor Garland proves it. Quinn Hughes proves it. You sit and watch those games. They're not very big, Vancouver, but they're still playing. And Vegas, who's really big, is not. Albeit they are the Stanley Cup champions. But you get in a brawl like last night, Florida-Boston, it is kind of nice to have some size, I would think. I've kind of been dying to talk about this. Oh, and by the way, for the CFL fans that have showed up, have you seen, people are saying that Chad Kelly's on the field today at rookie camp.
Haven't seen
Do I have that? Like it's not in my vortex, guys. Figure it out. Is he playing or is he not? Have you seen anything related? Because I have not.
No, I haven't. Nothing would surprise me, though. Nothing would surprise me.
No.
I'm sure there's things around the suspension where he's absolutely. I mean, if he's suspended, I mean, he's allowed to participate in training camp, and then the suspension kicks in. So I wouldn't be surprised if I would expect him to be on the field for day one of rookie camp, unless the team was going to move on from him and he wasn't going to come back and play football.
No, he's suspended from the preseason games and 9 regular season games, and I'm guessing they're saying, but you didn't say he couldn't practice. I don't care. Like, it's so ugly, the whole thing. Just whatever. It's not here today. Ken F. writes, I like you, Ken. I don't know who the hell you are. I feel like he's due. He goes, a zillion calories and lots of sugar in blizzards. And he goes on to say, Matt Schultz signed with the Stampeders. I got to catch up on things. I knew Schultz signed with the Stampeders because we DM each other from time to time. I've never met him. Seems like a really cool guy. But his time was up in Hamilton. He went to Calgary. I know what that's like. I knew Schultz was in Calgary. But again, we're not talking CFL today. Other than Ken F. says, Matthew Shinetti of TSN reporting that Chad Kelly was at rookie camp. Good. So this Rangers-Carolina thing with Game 3 tonight, you're never in trouble till you lose a game at home. Newsflash, Carolina's in trouble after 2 losses at MSG in Games 1 and 2 of the series, Darren. But they also say PNC Arena is the second hardest rink to play as a visitor in the NHL. Vegas is number 1. Raleigh's number 2. Well, let's do our picks. Do you see Carolina coming back and winning tonight? I do. I've been 0 for 2 in the series because I've been a believer in the Canes. I've been a Caniac. I'm taking them. Are you?
I am too. It's one of the true home ice advantages in the National Hockey League. Tough place to play. They'll be frothing at the mouth, those fans. Yeah, I'm with Carolina tonight.
And then it's Colorado at Dallas. And, we tend to, as a society, not learn, and that's fine. I get it. But it's like, is this, I've completely forgotten playoff series past. So I'm part of society, last I checked. I'm like everybody else. These game ones in these playoffs seem to be a temperature-taking, which way's the wind blowing game. We saw it for Florida-Boston here. I kind of feel like we saw it for Leafs-Bruins in Game 1. The Oilers fans are hoping that's what it was last night for Edmonton-Vancouver. And I'm wondering if Dallas blowing a 3-0 lead against Colorado in Game 1 is an example of that. Or tonight will tell the tale. Because Serena and I were both incredibly confident that after getting blown out in Game 1, Florida would come back and hammer on Boston last night. We said it in the show that we did yesterday, and it's exactly what happened. But I don't watch Colorado and Dallas every game. I'm not as confident in that. I don't know them as well. Fair?
Yeah.
You watch every Leaf game, you kind of had a sense of where that was going. This I don't have as good a read on it. And so I will pick Dallas tonight. They pantsed me the other night. You picked Colorado. You had it right. What do you see happening?
I'll pick Colorado again tonight on the road. It seems to be, it happened once. So I don't want to say this is Dallas's MO. But they lost the first 2 against Vegas at home and then got things back on track. So I think history is going to repeat itself in that series.
Dallas doing Dallas things, at least in this series. I have them picked to win the Stanley Cup. So the teams do tend to play with fire. This is the one reason why I didn't really have any serious interest in coaching sports per se. I'd strangle somebody. They're young men. They're dumb. I know that because I was one, and I was dumb, and I drove people crazy. I don't want to deal with that. Why do you have to constantly keep telling these guys, don't take your foot off the gas, don't take these guys easy, you need to play 60 minutes, but they don't. You know what I mean? That would drive me nuts. As one coach told me on the bus one time, he's like, Roddy, we get older and the players stay the same age. Yeah, they do. And they just keep learning these lessons over and over. Now, having said that, as a mental health and recovery coach, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. It's weird, but I think that's why I've been chosen to do that as opposed to do it with a sports team. It doesn't bother me. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to listen, you're the one kicking yourself in the shins. I don't care. Right? Sports is different than that, though.
Yeah, it is. And you just got me thinking, that's Matthew McConaughey, right? Dazed and Confused. These girls, man, I keep getting older. They stay the same age. And that's when he realizes maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to move on. That's Dazed and Confused. Yeah. I don't know. You gotta adapt and you gotta keep moving on. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that series. But as far as the players, learning the 60 minutes, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So you have to adjust to what they're doing because they're not necessarily going to listen to you.
You just threw me for a loop. I had no idea. I've never watched Dazed and Confused, so that's where he got the line from?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's
Probably,
the line.
right?
Yeah, Matthew. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it used to drive me so nuts. And by the way, Sean Reynolds coming up from Sportsnet Winnipeg next segment. It used to drive my bus, pardon the pun, but remember when DVDs, we had the plastic container that looked like an accordion, and I had all my DVDs in there?
Yeah.
I was always the one that had to bring the DVDs on the bus for the hockey team. And it was always the same shows. Old School was very popular. I had the WKRP box set, the Cheers box set, Coach, a lot of movies, and then some George Strait live from the Houston Astrodome. So they used to complain because Miracle. I owned all those. And I'll never forget one time. We watched them all. Then we started watching them again. It was on the West Coast trip. We're going through the mountains. And we had George Strait live from the Astrodome. We had a player by the name of Andrew D'Souza. Do you remember him? Andrew D'Souza? You must remember that name. Or maybe you don't. Defenseman.
I remember the name.
He came up to the front of the bus. And he goes, can you guys turn the George Strait off? The guys are getting a headache. I was so mad I could have killed him. Bring your own damn DVDs then. And how dare you talk about the king of country that way? But we turned it off. We made our picks, and I think we're good, Moose. You ready to go?
Okay. You bet.
Okay.
Enjoy.
All right, great job. Should be a very interesting chat next with Sportsnet Winnipeg's Sean Reynolds. We'll be right back live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
business owners, and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, the RP Show continues. By the way, a word from our control room in Toronto, the Game Plus control room at Anthem Sports. The pickleball broadcast scheduled for 2 p.m. Eastern immediately following the RP Show today has been delayed due to weather. What are the boys saying, Clark? A 2-hour weather delay? Hour and a half weather delay? 2 hours, so it'll be 4 p.m. Eastern live pickleball here on the Game Plus television, which is channel 1190, Bell MTS Cable Manitoba. And we're going to Winnipeg now. Sean Reynolds joins us from Sportsnet Winnipeg. Hey, Rennie. Listen, I put it out to Jets fans yesterday. How we feeling? They're like, we're not ready. We're not ready to talk about it. Is that what you're sensing from Jets fans?
Yeah, I think everyone was really expecting, at least the second round. It's a tough go to get out of the Central, and I think a lot of Jets fans knew that even if they did get past Colorado, they'd be facing the winner of Dallas-Vegas. Vegas is kryptonite in the playoffs to the Winnipeg Jets, and Dallas, we know, is a really, really complete team. But I think everyone was thinking there was a lot of reason to be excited this year, and that a second round was in the cards, so to speak. So yeah, I think this was a real gut punch for Jets fans. There's a lot of belief this is a team similar to what we've seen from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The playoffs, they don't get the results they want, and a lot of times they come out of the playoffs not feeling that they've showed the best that they can show. I think people thought this year was going to be different. It clearly wasn't. It was almost the prototypical case of that happening to the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, just skipping ahead, there's a lot in between here, but is Scott Arniel a slam dunk next head coach, or do they need to have a discussion about this?
Well, they need to have the discussion, but I also think that it's, as close as you can get to a slam dunk. There was such an interesting story that came the last time the Jets were looking for a head coach, and John Tortorella had a meeting that I chatted with John Tortorella about with Kevin Cheveldayoff, in which Kevin Cheveldayoff went to his house and stayed for like 6 hours, and they hadn't known each other before the meeting and came out of that, and John Tortorella said, I come out of that meeting and I think I'm going to have a lifelong relationship in hockey with Kevin Cheveldayoff. This is something that you can't pass up as an organization. You've got your team, you've got all these issues, you're trying to solve them with a head coach, and this is an opportunity to have all the best minds in hockey, all these different head coaches come and tell you, hey, this is what I think's wrong with your team. This is how we exploit your team when we play against them. These are all the things that I know about them and all the things I think I could do to fix your team. Now, whether or not you hire that guy, you basically get free consultation from some of the greatest minds in the game. So the Jets have to go down that road. That said, I do believe Scott Arniel was here with the expectation that when Rick Bowness moved on, they would be moving on to him. He's got a long history with the organization, with the city. We know that. So I do believe there's an expectation within his world that they're going in that direction. I think the Jets were thinking the same thing. So I think it's fairly close to a slam dunk, but you have to do your due diligence. And who knows what can happen when that due diligence is done.
Well, I wonder, and I apologize for being the 1 millionth person asking you what you think they should do, but for my two, because I know what Winnipeg's like. It's like every other town that loves their team. But Chevy, I've known him since I was 16. I think he was 18. I was in a training camp in Brandon with him. He's always been a leader. He's a good guy. This is my take. You want a guy like that leading your organization if you're a Jets fan and your ownership. So all the pieces are there is my point. This does not need to be a radical rebuild. Somebody actually brought up the term rebuild with the Jets. I'm like, they're good. This isn't a major changes they need,
I don't think it's a major rebuild that's needed, but I think if they're not taking a look at the personnel they have and wondering if that had to do with the result that they got, that Colorado clearly stepped up their game to another level that the Winnipeg Jets just could not follow. I think it would be folly not to look at it that way. So, I mean, I think the Jets system under Rick Bowness was designed to create a team defense. Sometimes I think having to go to a very strong team defense is code for your defense as it was constructed needed help and needed to alter the way the entire team played to kind of create a 5-man shell to kind of spell off what we're seeing on the back end of the defense, right? They're not the biggest defense in the world. I'm a big believer that going back to 2019 with the St. Louis Blues, every single year we've seen a defense core win the Stanley Cup with trees, like giants on the back end that just do not let you get close to the front of the net. The Winnipeg Jets do not have that. They potentially are losing probably the biggest tree that they have on the back end with Brendan Dillon. There's potential for them to lose 2 of their top 3 defensemen because Dylan DeMello is also an unrestricted free agent, which means that if they lose those players, and we know going the unrestricted free agent route is not how the Jets typically build, the Jets defense core needs to get better, and there's potential for it to actually get worse here. So I do think that I think you're right, Rod. I think there's a lot of pieces in place for the Winnipeg Jets that Kevin Cheveldayoff has set up. That said, there, in my opinion, is a lot of room for this team to get better. And I do think as the roster was constructed, it got exposed a little bit in the playoffs. This isn't just these guys forgot to show up to play or they didn't have the right game plan. There's tweaks that need to be made to this roster if they want to take the next step.
Sure. Well, you've been doing this a long time. You know, no teams are satisfied. They're always trying to get better. And I keep, with Hellebuck, you can see it. There's a tendency when your goalie's that good to just say, hey, let him do it. That's what they do. I see it in Florida. They do it with Bob from time to time. Mm-hmm. But the Panthers still went out and got Tarasenko and Okposo. They added. So, I mean, I get it. You can get better. How's Hellebuck doing, by the way? And because that wasn't him in the playoffs, right? That was a big surprise.
He says it's him. I mean, he says, you're not going to believe this, but this is the best hockey I've played of my career. That's what he said in the postseason. We're used to Connor Hellebuck coming out and basically saying, hey, he allowed 6 goals and got pulled from a game, and he comes out and he'll say, I liked my game. I thought my details were right. This is what Connor Hellebuck does. It's what he's always done. I think personally, it's just a power of positive thinking response that you get from him. In the way that he doesn't want, negative thoughts to enter his mind. He talked about why he doesn't speak to the media during the playoffs, and he said he just doesn't need that kind of stuff in his mind. So he's clearly a person who wants positive thoughts in there, and he wants to lock out everything else. I see this as a tactic by him to not look at what is happening as far as his playoff numbers go. I've said this before. Every year, Rod, we go into the playoffs with the Winnipeg Jets, and everyone just automatically ticks the box and says the Jets have the advantage in goal. Yeah. It hasn't turned out to be that way. The numbers do not bear that out, and the Winnipeg Jets have not had a marked advantage in the crease in the playoffs. And so part of this, I think you're right, and no doubt about it. The Winnipeg Jets have relied on Connor Hellebuck far more than they should have. During the regular season, they've hung him out to dry. He's kept them in a lot of things. But as far as things go with the playoffs, Connor Hellebuck, there's a place he can take his game that he hasn't taken it to.
Couldn't agree more. Meanwhile, they're inscribing his name on the Jennings Trophy, and he might be getting the Vezina. So you're right. It's 2 different seasons. And I'll tell you what, over your shoulders, that beautiful Hockey Night in Canada jacket. Kelly Rudy might want to take him down and introduce him to Tony Robbins, because Rudes will tell you Tony Robbins changed Kelly's career. It's a true story. It's a hell of a story, man.
It's a great story.
Yeah. Speaking of, are you doing some playoff series like my boy Ryan Leslie, or are you off-season mode?
I'm actually in capture my breath mode. I'll be heading out for the 3rd and 4th round and the draft. So basically, right now I'm just kind of getting all the seeding the grass, doing all the yard work, and then I'm going to hop on a plane and disappear until July. So it's going to get busy after this.
Okay, man. Well, thanks for fitting us in. I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
Man, enjoy the break.
You bet. Appreciate that. Always love being on, Rod.
Thank you, pal. Sean Reynolds, Sportsnet, Winnipeg. We got a viewer update. Yes, Chad Kelly's on the field on day one of Argo's rookie camp. I got the story here. And a look at tonight's NHL games, and Sheldon Keefe fired as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting day. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We got some good stuff here from the audience, as always. And then a sports update coming up, too. These sports days have been something, haven't they? And daytime sports is just the best. Sports talk We watch the games at night. We talk about it during the day. Then we watch the games at night again. Works out great. Ron in Calgary writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line. 902-518-3033. Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for them by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store. Ron says, Rod, you must watch Dazed and Confused. All right. Well, I don't know if I'll be watching Dazed and Confused, but I've realized I'm going to be going to a lot more movies. This is what I realize. I need to go to the movies at night. Because when I go to bed early, I lay there till like midnight. Didn't get home from the Panthers game last night till like close to midnight. Did a little work, went to bed. I'm going to stay up later. That's what Dr. Pedersen is ordering for himself. Okay, regarding the poll question of what team name do you like the best for the Utah NHL squad? Ice, Freeze, Outlaws, or Utah Hockey Club? I hate that. Like, it's a soccer thing. Why do we have to steal? Why? I said I like the Grizzlies. Moose said he liked the Ice. Clark wants the Outlaws. And Utah Darren, our on-the-spot reporter in Utah who watches our show every day, says Yetis is actually leading there. Yeah, and I think we all kind of like that. The marketing possibilities are infinite. So to the sports update and then back into the fun comments of quarterback Chad Kelly, who is under suspension for violating the CFL's gender-based violence policy, was on the field today at the Toronto Argonauts rookie camp. Kelly's appearance comes just 2 days after the CFL suspended their most outstanding player for at least 9 games following its investigation into a sexual harassment case involving the team. Chad Kelly is also suspended for Toronto's 2 preseason games. Argos general manager Mike Pinball Clemens told reporters Kelly's presence was within the conditions of the league's discipline. Just another case where it doesn't make anybody look good. And you get what the Argos are trying to do. This much has been explained to me by the football people. But he's a great player. You're not helping him. Meanwhile, the Toronto Maple Leafs have fired coach Sheldon Keefe after another early playoff exit. General manager Brad Treliving announced the decision today. The Leafs losing to rival Boston made it 4 times in 5 years under Keefe. They were eliminated in the first round. Apparently, he released a very nice message to Leafs fans, a letter. Seems like a good guy. Seems like a guy that was ready for a change. Here's one for you. From the Canadian Elite Basketball League, heretofore and herewithin will be referred to as CEBL on this show, CEBL, Canadian Elite Basketball League, CEBL. A long-serving NBA big man is going to make Winnipeg his home this summer. The Winnipeg Sea Bears are excited to announce the signing of 7-foot center and former first-round NBA draft pick Byron Mullins ahead of the 2024 CEBL season. He must be a big... I've heard of him. Mullins spent 5 seasons in the NBA after being selected 24th overall by the Dallas Mavericks in the 2009 NBA draft. Traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder on draft day, Mullins went on to play 189 games in the NBA with the Thunder, Bobcats, Clippers, and 76ers. So there you go. Today's CEBL update brought to you by PNC Bank.
How about that?
Yeah, I just made that up. But I can tell you the sports updates brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Wednesdays are made for movie twosomes. You don't need to be a famous movie couple like Han and Chewie or Miss Piggy and Kermit. They get 2 admissions, 2 medium fountain. Was Miss Piggy and Kermit really a couple, or was it just complicated? That's what I remember of it. Anyways, 2 drinks, 1 popcorn, 2 admissions, and 1 choice of candy for 1 great low price. What you do need is a date, though, somebody to go with you at least, because this deal is worth sharing. Landmark Cinemas movie twosome every Wednesday. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtime. And also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. Kirk in Toronto writes in regarding the Chad Kelly situation. And he says, hi, Rod. Looks like Chad Kelly may be too much of a head case for the CFL as he was in the NFL. Yeah. The thing is, I know very, very little about the Chad Kelly thing, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Should I look into it? Like, do you want to know? It's a really ugly situation that I really want no part of. And the more I dig into it, the uglier it gets. And the thing is, I've had the people lobbying, trying to defend him. That's how I know how the Argos feel about it. Let's put it that way. But in some cases, people have been lying to me, and they're my friends. Homie, don't play that game. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I'm sorry, but the CFL needs to get its act together. They're trying. The Argos in this, as much as it pains me to say, Argos aren't doing anything legally wrong either. Listen, I've been around this. You get what they're saying. He's suspended for the games. Doesn't say he can't practice. Oh, God. Patrolman Pete says, at least Chad Kelly has some solid accomplishments in the CFL as opposed to someone like Johnny Manziel who flamed out without doing a thing. Johnny Manziel. I don't want to say anything ill. I don't want the negativity, but yeah. Thank you, Utah Darren, for all your contributions today. You've been very helpful and entertaining. Allie says, this show is just the best. Hope everyone has a great Thursday afternoon. Go Stars! I will be cheering for them, I guess, tonight. I don't really care about that series. B. Henderson in Winnipeg says, the Oilers had a 4-1 lead and left work early. Thought they wouldn't get caught. Right? Those are big mistakes. We'll talk about it all tomorrow, right? Football Friday, right here.
Who has more fun than us?